everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Podcast here at Mccurdy's Comedy Theater. This week, we had Al Ernst, our headliner, in. He's a 30-year vet of the game. He's been doing it forever. Started out way back with Les back in the 80s. And I was actually featuring this week. It was my first full week of feature. I was very honored to be part of this, and I loved working with Al. He's a hilarious comic. I learned so much from him. And this podcast, we actually had two special guests. Motown Mark, who's from Michigan, and he actually took the comedy boot camp class with Les Mccurdy and Ken Sons, and he had a chance to come down and sit down with us, sit in the back of the green room and hang out. And we also had one of my buddies, a local open micer, On Hill Salvador. Very funny guy, and we got to sit down with Les, and we really got to get a good clinic going on. All of us learned a lot, and had a lot of fun sitting down with these guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. Thanks.
Welcome to the conversation. We're in the green room. This is our podcast, and from the actual green room, and at Mccurdy's Comedy Theater. And as I always say, this is not an interview, it is a conversation. It is as close as we can get to the natural conversation that we as comedians would have in the green room with hidden mics, except they're not hidden, but we're not real bright, so sometimes we forget that, and we're just going to talk. And so our headliner, Al Ernst.
What's happening? This is impressive. This is fancy stuff. I figured this was just going to be some guy with a phone.
Exactly what it usually is.
Speak into it, yeah.
And then Motown Mark over here, who came through the comedy class. How long ago was that?
March. Right through
March. And then you got
bring that.
Oh yeah, pull that in a little closer to you.
Yeah.
And then
just push this a little bit closer to the mic.
Yeah, that windscreen. Yeah,
there you go.
And there it is.
Okay, that's right.
And then got bit by the bug like a lot of people do, and he's up around Detroit, and he goes to Mark Ridley's club, which is one of the best clubs in the world up there. And what's the little area outside Detroit where he is?
We got Royal Oak.
Royal Oak.
No, mine's right around
Royal
the corner
Oak.
there.
Yeah,
We're in Royal Oak in Ferndale over there.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He's got a great looking club
Mark's
over there.
is one of the Comedy Castle is 40. I think they've had their 40th anniversary not long ago, and one of the best comedy venues anyway.
I go Hall of Fame. Think about it. You got Punchline Atlanta, Mark Ridley,
Which is gone pretty much.
Actually,
it's there,
but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah. So you're right, and you got Mark Ridley's. You got and not the bullshit. Can we say that?
You can say whatever you want.
All right, not the bullshit last here, but I mean, let's face it. This is by far the premier club. I mean, there's not a guy on the road that I know that doesn't try to fight to get in here.
Yeah.
So
there's a few of those single owner clubs. We've said it before. Ayers, Bruce in Birmingham,
definitely Bruce.
Rick, Nick Costas in Cleveland, Lacey over at in LA, or just outside.
I don't know if
LA.
you didn't hear about. Nick got in a little bit of trouble with Rogan on his podcast.
Really?
Yeah, because they served him bad salad, and they all got food poisoning on the airplane back from Cleveland to back from Cleveland to LA.
Yeah.
So
they woke up on the plane with massive
Yeah,
diarrhea.
they actually. It got so bad they actually had to call a doctor on the plane to sit with them. And the doctor kept thinking that those guys were taking. They said, what street drugs have you taken?
Name all the hard drugs you've taken. None.
Hey, tell me how
Please
fun
introduce yourself also.
My name is On Hill Salvador.
And one of our local comics here and joined us. Well, isn't it weird now that used to you always thought of food poisoning as coming from meat? And now it's fucking lettuce.
That's right.
Lettuce is what
They
you have
said
to watch.
it mostly comes from lettuce because you have to hand toss the lettuce and hand wash the lettuce, and some people don't.
Well,
take
now wait
care
a minute.
of it.
Who goes to a restaurant and two guys
Because
sticks his hands in the salad?
It's because the pickers piss on the lettuce. We all
Yeah.
Hey, how much?
That's because their immigration, because
They're
it's all
pissed.
Trump's. It's
They are
Trump's
pissed.
fault. They piss on the lettuce because he pissed at Trump. Now we get sick.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
That's
a
exactly how it
vicious
happens.
cycle. It's
That's
a
it.
vicious
Grocery out. How fun was that show, though? I gotta tell you, how fun would that show have been that next fucking morning with these guys all getting sick on that plane? Just think what that show was
Because
like.
Nick's place has the steakhouse
I
in
know.
the front
I
that's
mean,
been there
it's
forever.
awesome.
I mean, it's awesome. It is an
We
awesome
did
place.
we did a Carnival comedy challenge way back in the mid 2000s, which was like a kind of an American Idol to get selected as a comic on Carnival Cruiselines, and we ended up doing Hilarities in Cleveland twice because the food was so good. We kept going.
Man.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we need to go back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think we need to do that Cleveland gig again.
It's a great one. It really is.
Hey, back to what you were saying, Les. Now I've been to Big Tommy's over in Detroit. We've done a little gig there. We've been over at Mark's Place,
Right.
And here, and like Grocery Al says here, not blowing smoke up your ass. This is class, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm going to
no,
tell you, I am so comfortable here. My wife said to me last night, "Why am I so comfortable here versus the other places?" I'm telling you, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm
Yeah.
being
Well, I
serious.
mean, no, it's purposeful.
He's
I
trying
mean,
to
you know,
headline.
we're-
Don't listen to him.
Well, it is. I mean,
You know what? It doesn't matter. It's not going to pay any more than what he's getting right now.
No. It's,
Listen. I won't blow smoke on my ass right here. I'm telling. No, and here's what I'll say. And I'll always kid back and forth with Les, but Les and Pam, back in the old school of how we did comedy. Now you got to understand, the '90s was it was like you graduated step to step. You came in as an opener, you went to a feature, you became a headliner, and then maybe you became a special event. I mean, that was it was very defined. And Les and Pam were the first to ever elevate me from a feature act to a headliner. And at the time, there was no internet. You know, the only thing you were sending out were these big VHS video tapes. But the minute I would say I'm headlining at Mccurdy's, that got me work at just about every place
Yeah.
I've ever worked in, and elevated my status. So for
Right.
that, I will forever work for the $10 a night.
Yeah.
Why
Good.
are you getting double what I'm getting? You're getting double what
Yeah,
I'm
and
getting.
look at this. We're getting this on the air. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that Al brings in 60 paid tickets last night.
Yeah.
Now, no, he's no
well,
special.
Al, at least you're getting paid. Everybody else in the room is paying me to get on the stage.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I know. Les figured it out. Long. He was the smart guy. The rest of us schmucks. We went out on the road. We drive into Orangeburg, South Carolina, and all this. And Les goes, "Well, you know what? I can move to Sarasota and be beautiful, and I can run my own, and I can. Yeah, that's the." And the rest of us are like, "Where are you tomorrow?"
Right.
I'm in Muncie, Indiana.
Well, you know, it was a couple
right.
weeks ago. We had a Norm Stoltz in here from
Yeah.
Detroit, and Norm's like 70 years old now, and raised kids, put them through college, stayed with the same wife forever. He just got him a place at the Villages,
Right.
And he's still got a place up north and And we were playing golf and going, we've had a blessed life and that we've been able to stay in comedy and make a good living and keep our families together. And it was because we didn't have to tour a lot. And in his case, he's a pharmacist. So whenever Norm was off the road, he could make money. And that's what we talked about, was that you really, unless you became a celebrity, you needed a second income. If you had some kind of second income with the comedy, you could make a decent living. But when you were working just off the comedy, even making pretty good headline money, well, you can't keep a family together because you're on the road for 40 fucking weeks.
Right,
And
right.
and you're still just, it's hard. It's really hard to make ends meet as far as that goes.
I am proud to say that I did make it. Labor Day weekend of this year begins my 30th year of full-time stand-up comedy, and and through that, I've never had. I couldn't deliver pizza. I eat pizza.
Well, you've been married for how long?
So 38 years.
She just likes you being away, though.
Yeah, well, we've known that, Les. Yeah, that's been proven.
Y'all talked about that early on, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, if I was home for more than a week, she'd go, "Don't you have a gig? Aren't you supposed to be?" And then that's how come I got on the cruise ships, because she went, "You're going to be away 6 weeks. This is beautiful. Just make sure the direct." That was when direct deposits.
You got direct deposit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I'm one of that small number too of people that was able to make it that way. But back, and I hate to keep going back like that, but these guys, the new guys, you're in a whole different pair.
Yeah, we're fucked. No.
No, you're not.
No,
you
not
are one viral video away from headlining.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you're in one sense you have great competition against you, which we didn't have as much competition.
No.
But on the other hand, you have the internet and you have fucking phones and shit.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I tell you what always gets me is that when we do like the Florida's Funniest competition, and I'll have 2 or 3 comics come down that I like. That I go, oh man, you're pretty good. Where you from? Tampa. Tampa. It's an hour away.
Right.
I said, how long you been up there doing this? About 3 years. But you never once thought maybe to see if you could get a guest set or something, come down and introduce yourself? No. You just wait for me to find you? What the fuck?
Know, exactly. Because I can remember. That's exactly right. Because that's the only way that I got into new gigs was that I would be doing a one-nighter close to St. Louis, say, and I would then end up making phone calls to get a guest set at the Funny Bone in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Well, how many times did you drive? I don't know, we did. I mean, drive anywhere from 3 to maybe 6, 7 hours to
easily.
a club, and you'd called and set it up and drive down there and change clothes in the fucking parking lot and go in to do your guest set and hope to God that the owner
was there,
remembered you were coming.
Oh,
then you'd go in and they were there, and then you'd walk off stage and they go, oh fuck man, somebody caught my ear, I missed your set.
Yeah, something happened in the kitchen. That's my favorite.
That shit would happen all the time.
Yeah, somebody called me in the box office.
Les, to your point, what you said is so true. Now, keep in mind, I'm the rookie, right, out of the group here. And out of the 10 shows that I have done since I left you, okay, I've only had one headliner with me that was full-time comedian. One out of those 10 shows. So what you said, Al, what you're saying,
part of it,
to support having.
What did you do? What have you done? What was your career before?
Oh, I'm still working. I'm not retired. I'm not as old as I look, Al.
He's a marketing genius.
We do marketing and for business to business. We don't do any
marketing. I love when people say I do marketing.
That means whatever you want to buy, I'll fucking sell it to you. That's basically it.
When Leno used to do that bit, we've got that death gel, and then we can sell that to you. Yeah. We can make it look good.
Sure.
But
that's
the
great.
difference that I see with him last night, I told you last night, once again, don't matter what you like me, don't like me. Doesn't matter.
I like you.
I'm just telling you, you from the first time I saw you when I was here in March.
Oh yeah.
You are miles ahead of where you were.
Wow,
I mean, you
you
look so comfortable.
Yeah.
He really handled the stage fantastic.
Okay, but I hate to keep. But here's the deal.
He keeps telling me I suck this whole time. I love it.
He tells everybody they suck.
I do.
Makes him feel bad.
But the difference is with he gets. It's like working out. He gets reps.
Yeah.
Even on the nights where if I'm sub, because I'll come in and sub for less and host the show, but I'm an old guy, so I want to leave after I introduce the headliner. So luckily I get my $8.28
after tax.
I know. Well,
Social
you knew the
Security.
feds were after me. So
they keep sending me letters.
Al must have had 2 bottles of water. You have 2 bottles of water, right? There you go. He deducts that.
But if Mike's here, he can close, and he goes. And even the nights when he just goes out there and does 3 minutes of the drawing with the cards, that is reps.
Yeah.
And the reason he has expanded and done this so quick is that he goes and does more reps.
He's
He
working
works
at the
out.
club.
That's right.
I mean, that's the thing is, it's like somebody will go, I want to be a writer out in L.A. How should I approach that? I go, well, sitting around and writing, sending shit in ain't it. I can pretty much say, go get a fucking job at the studio.
Yeah.
Working there. I don't give a shit what you're doing.
Be around the environment.
Yeah, that's right. Do anything. So they know who the fuck you are. And then, and in the same way, it's like, being a house MC somewhere, or being a waiter at a comedy club, or a bartender at a comedy club, or a cook at the comedy club, and being a comedian too.
Exactly.
You're just naturally, if you're decent,
You
you're going to get more opportunities to
Yeah.
get stage
You're
time.
close
Have
to
you
home.
always written your own stuff out?
Well, I'm
You
gonna
could
say
call
that
it
on the-
that. You could call it that.
Yeah. I'll say that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, I've written my own stuff. Yeah. What are you trying to nail me into? No,
Whose
no,
joke are you
no,
telling?
The Detroit's coming
I
out.
think Joe Rogan called him and
That's right. Yeah, I'm kind
Nail Al. I'm
I'm
pretty
the
sure
Car-
you've been
yeah,
taking
I'm the-
my shit.
That's right. I'm the Carlos Mencia of taking stuff. No, I mean, listen, there are things out there that, we can get into that whole idea. But premises are, to me, up for grabs. Anybody can grab a premise.
Premises
Yeah.
dime a dozen.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Premises are easy.
Yeah, premises. But, if you are going out there and doing word for word or something, or you're changing one word and calling it, I was old school taught, man. I'll tell you, and Les can back me up on this. I mean, there were fist fights. I mean, there was some comedy police shit going on.
You remember Ollie Joe Prater?
Yes.
Well, all right.
Yeah,
Ollie Joe, they said Ollie Joe was about my height and weighed about 350 pounds.
Easily.
And he looked like a Nordic, Viking with a fucking cowboy hat on.
Right.
One of the funniest motherfuckers to this day I've
Right.
ever seen on stage. But he stole material, and they said the funkiest thing you can ever hear during your set is Ollie Joe's laugh. Because if you hear Ollie, you go, fuck, that bit's gone.
Yeah.
And then he was
Yeah.
such a big badass. I mean, people would literally come up to him and go, you stole my bit. And he'll go, yeah. And?
Yeah.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Or-
What are you gonna do? What's your next move?
Or I was in the week after him in Bruce's Club in Birmingham, which is the Stardome in Birmingham, and the feature did a thing that he really liked, and as he was coming off stage, Ollie Joe literally handed him three $100 bills and said, "You're never doing that bit again. That's my bit,
No
and I'm
shit.
taking." And there was no debate. It was
Yeah.
like, I'm just buying it. I'm just giving you the money, and there it is.
And that was cool that he gave. He liked the guy
Right.
doing
Yeah,
that.
that was
Compensation.
he liked him.
Robin
Yeah, giving him
Williams
money.
was actually supposed he was doing that for a bit.
Well, they
he
called
would,
him.
Oh, he did do it.
he would
did
send
that.
people like a check for like 15 grand and be like, "Don't ever do
Yes.
that bit again."
Yeah.
You know, like,
Well,
no,
Not so
quite.
much. Yeah.
Well, they used to call him ATM Robin because
Yeah.
the drug problem would be that he'd go to the Improv in LA, and then other comics would just start berating him because they knew he'd give up money
Yeah,
right there on the spot.
Right, right,
And
right.
he didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
he said he had a photographic memory,
Right.
and that everything he hears goes in there, and then he works improvisationally.
Right.
He works in the moment, and so things come to his head, and it was something he didn't. You go, well, you have a photographic memory. You should remember where it came from,
right.
but that was his thing, and so when he would do something, especially on a television show, was what I always heard. If he
Yeah.
did it, it'd be on the Tonight Show or something, and a comic would call right up and go, well, that's mine, and I can prove it's mine, and they go, okay, and they send you a check, and now you're writing for Robin Williams.
Right.
I don't think anybody was ever told, you can't do that
Right,
anymore,
right.
because Robin didn't give a flying fuck
Right, right.
if you did.
He had enough.
You know,
He had
it
enough stuff.
didn't matter to him. You know,
Yeah.
Well, the toughest for me as a rookie
Yeah.
is because I'm in a fundraising business with the comedy. That's how I've grown my business, the comedy business. but I get the same group of people, and I feel I don't want to use the same stuff. And
You know, that
less
is
the other
that is
day.
the biggest I mean, that is one of the, I think one of the biggest mistakes I hear from new comedians is that when they sit there and go, I want to, you see them on open mic, and it's like, and they don't have such a good set, and I saw them before, and they had a pretty nice set, and I like what they did, and then they'll go, well, you know, I don't want to do the same set that I did, you know, and I go, how many times did you do that other set? Well, I already did it 6 times. 6 fucking times.
Oh, my God.
And you know what I mean? And I don't want to do that the 8th, 9th time. I go, you know how many times you do a fucking set before it's really honed in?
Yeah,
I mean, like
for real.
100 times.
Millions.
And I walk out there tonight, and there's certain things I do, like the one, if I have a lady, it's her birthday, and she's fucking, you know, 72 years old, and I'll go, and I go, anywhere else in America, you're a solid senior citizen, not in this town, hot young babe.
Right.
And there's a whole stream that I do after that. Can you still drive at night? And it's all about, you know, picking up some old guy on Longboat Key and getting his money and all this stuff. I've been doing that for so fucking long. I mean, 20 years. But I go, it works every single. I mean, it baffles me that it works every fucking time. And you know, it's like, well, how can you do that again? Because they laugh their freaking ass off. And it's just a local thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's something to the fact that, you know,
It's a
when
good
you
stay
got
with
something honed down, you know what I mean? But yeah,
But that stuff's like pretty inherently funny. I think what you're referring to sometimes is like a misdirect. Like
Correct.
when you've done a misdirect and like so like the audience thinks
Because
you're
they
going
know
one way,
what's coming.
and then if they've already seen that before, they kind of know what's coming, so it doesn't hit as hard. But like, you know, how many misdirects do you really have in your whole set?
Well,
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough thing and I know this from the cruise ships, because you see the same people at every show, and they only tell
Jesus Christ.
and so we do, like if I work a ship, I do 5 shows, 5 half-hour shows. So yes, there are certain bits that, you know, if it, especially a misdirect bit, you
right.
can't do it more than once, maybe twice.
That's where crowd work comes in handy, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but it's also taught me that Seinfeld thing about writing every day.
Right.
yeah.
Every
But
day.
you know, over the years, I've got headliners that come in here that I've got headliners that have been coming in here for years, and the foundation of their show will be close to the same. But each time they come in, there'll be a new 10 or 15 minutes. So maybe maybe like 30% of the show will be new. That's very common.
So it's
you
not
know?
like an entire new set. It's just keeping the act fresh.
Absolutely. And then I've got acts that have been coming in here for years that really don't change their show hardly at all. 20 years, 25 years. This is my nightclub comedy show that I've developed. Now, personally, that would bore me.
To death,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But that they've gotten that, it works for them, and they've never become famous.
Right.
So that show has never been
Published.
been out in you know, nationally seen, so they can just they can live off of that. You know what I mean?
Are they
And there's a lot of both, you know. But there's very few people that walk in here even every other year
With a new
45 minutes. I can't
oh,
hardly
yeah.
think of anybody. I mean, that is rare.
But,
Yeah.
but I always looked at it as like a
Amazing,
as like
right.
a sunburst, like a sunburst. You have your central stuff that is kind of your home, you know, that's your stuff, and then everything else off of it, that's where you develop your new stuff is off of that. Because I can tell you there are pieces of my show, couple pieces that I did the first night I ever did an open mic night
Jesus, no kidding.
in 1986.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
couple, but everything from that, everything for the rest of my show has been built off of that, you know.
You know who had the most material that I was just amazed with, that I worked with very early on as an opening act, was Paula Poundstone.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She I did 3 weeks with her. I did a 3-week run, so that's 21 shows. She opened every show with 10 to 15 minutes of different material.
kidding.
21 fucking shows, and it all worked. And every time
Holy
it
shit.
had something to do with something that happened within that 24-hour period.
So she was
And-
just writing constantly.
Constantly writing.
Yeah.
And you know, I know that like the very first night we were going there, it was the comedy club in Richmond that used to be in
Matt's British Pub.
Mac's British Pub in the basement.
It looked like you were playing underneath a couch.
Yes. Yes.
You know, like the spring.
Yeah.
It really did. It looked like you were playing because it was a real short
Yes.
ceiling. Yeah.
I was there one time when it was St. Patrick's Day upstairs.
Oh, my
And
God.
they started marching, and dirt was falling
Oh, my God.
off the ceiling down on us. I was like, there's no fucking thing's gonna cave in.
Oh my god.
But anyway, it was the first time I worked there, and that was a good club, and
love that
it was
place.
fun. And but I was supposed to give Paula a ride, right? Well, I'm not good with directions. We didn't have fucking phones that told you where to go. We got so lost. We got there by showtime, but we were so lost we went through the same toll booth 3 fucking times.
Oh, wow.
And the toll booth guy told us what to do, and we still got turned around. She was as bad as me. And she opened that show with that. Us getting there, going through the toll booth, and made it hilarious. And of course, obviously you're going, well, she just is funny, and she was able to improvise that and make it work. She started spinning it in her head on the way down there. And afterwards, of course, I was like, wow. I can't believe. She goes, Les, I actually had material already about going through a toll booth multiple times. That's the difference. She goes, that's not the first time that ever happened to me. She goes, the difference is that whenever anything out of the ordinary or interesting happens, I immediately chronicle it, and within 24 hours, I try to come up with something I can try on stage with it. I try to do it quickly.
Yeah.
And
Before you
but
lose
just
it.
a prolific
Yeah,
writer.
'cause
But
you
there are
do
just
lose
not
it.
many of
Yeah.
those out there. She's brilliant. You know?
Well, I had Brian Regan.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience. I opened for him at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, and he was nice enough. I was just a feature act to take me with that because this is when we do a lot of morning radio. And he said, "You want to go to radio with me?" And yeah, of course, I'll get up because I want to see what's going on. And on his way, he's going through a binder. Remember those before iPads? A
Yeah.
binder. And I'm going, "What are you doing?" He's going, "Well, I'm looking up what bits I did last year on this radio station."
Wow.
He chronicled even his media interviews to a point where he could tell you he was on KFRB wherever, and since 2 years ago he could tell you what he interaction. So when he came in, he did it completely different. And I mean, if we all had that discipline, it would just be that.
No, that's true. Because growing up, I listened to a lot of Bob and Tom.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
the radio,
of
and that's where you would hear the returning comics, and they would have one new bit, but most of the time be the same kind of interview that they did before.
Sure,
So,
A
absolutely.
new story or something. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you only listen to me once on Bob and Tom because I'm the only comic that's hated by Bob and Tom and has never. I have been told personally that I am never be appearing on that show ever again. Wow. And I'm a nice guy.
I know. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
Al's the only guy that ever
suplexed the-
actually killed on stage. I love you're the only one
Yeah.
that I know of.
Oh, that I killed somebody? Yeah.
Yes.
His
The guy
last.
died during his set.
Yeah, the
wow.
guys, honest to goodness, the guy's last words were, "You were very funny."
No shit.
And then he
No
died.
shit, and he died.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, you laughed him to death?
He shook my hand and he said, "You were very funny," and he keeled over with that widowmaker heart attack
wow.
right at the table. right there.
Holy
Wow,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
kidding.
Charlie Goodman.
You fucking killed.
Oh, well,
Literally.
I've killed more. I've killed 3.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was the first land one, and then I've killed 2 on cruise ships.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
wow.
Yeah, and honest to goodness,
Last night, I'm surprised nobody died. Holy shit. You just tore up
Hey.
the room
Oh,
last night.
dude, I loved last night. I was here for the show. It was
Yeah.
great.
We said that. We said that. I'm
Well,
telling you.
I appreciate
My
it.
wife and I, this guy, he took us down. He did
Yeah.
no bullshit. We laughed the entire time.
Thank
Al.
you.
I mean, the entire time.
You know, it
You
is.
got a standing ovation.
Yeah, which you don't really get in a comedy club.
No, yeah.
You know, it's very rare that in a comedy club, and especially Les, because he wants to sit so many seats in there that you
Yeah.
know, because he wants to make that much money,
Yeah.
and nobody can really stand up. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
People
So
are
let's
falling
be
over to
honest.
stand up
Yeah,
for
now
it.
that he's gone, I can tell
And
you,
that-
I really do just get paid $8.28.
And that was a full room stand up. Like I've
Yeah.
seen times where it's like, you know, it's like the people that came to see you specifically.
Right.
No, the whole room fucking stood up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, guys, calm down. All right, let's gotta close the show now.
I've never, all the times I've been here, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
never seen
it
You only
was-
see it for the big celebrities, like
Yeah.
Louis or something like that. Like,
My
Yeah,
wife
but
was embarrassing. She was embarrassing me. I'm telling you. 3 times.
Please
I told
don't-
my-
please
I
don't be
said,
embarrassed
I'm
by
telling
that.
you, dude. I said to my wife, shut the fuck up. I thought for sure he was going to say, what's with that bitch out there?
No,
I'm telling you.
No,
I'm telling you.
You know, it is my dream. You know, when you get them laughing during the setups.
yeah.
You know, and there were times last night where I wasn't even at the punchline because here my philosophy in writing comedy is it's kind of like country music. They say it's 3 chords and the truth.
Right.
And I say comedy is 3 punchlines and the truth. The truth is somewhere in your act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's 3 punchlines and the truth.
Yeah.
And you find that spot, and that's exactly. But I mean, and if I wouldn't have had you guys, and again, Mike, you know, totally hats off to you.
Thank
but
you.
I still say, I told Les in the text last night when we were texting over the Nationals game. I said, this guy you should have brought the other guy up and let him, and then
yeah.
go do your thing.
Yeah.
You were that good, you know. The other guy was good. I mean, he
Yeah.
was a good comic.
He did well, yeah.
But you know, the thing about it, the problem is with our business is that we're totally reverse what we do. The hardest job is the host. It
Yeah.
honestly is.
Yeah.
The hardest job in our
To walk out
business
to a cold ass
That's right.
audience.
and host, and you put the person with the least amount of experience.
Yeah, for
and the
whatever
le-
reason.
And I've worked over in England, over in Europe, and some of the English clubs and stuff like that. And their philosophy is completely the opposite. The headliner is the host,
Right, right.
and he'll do a little time. He'll bring his people up, and then he does his set at the end, long set at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And that's why when I tell somebody, even like guys that aren't doing clubs, like if you're doing, you know, somebody's VFW or something, if you're the host, you're Jimmy Kimmel. You
Yes,
are
exactly.
Jimmy Fallon.
It's
you
your
are-
show and
that's
friends.
Right.
That's
That's
the way you're supposed to treat it.
Right.
That's Mike did it. Says it exactly right.
Yeah.
You say, I have a great show for you tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I will bring out my guest stars,
Yeah.
and those are my other comedians.
Yeah, that shows like the confidence that you have, not only just in yourself,
That's right.
but what you're bringing up and everything.
Yeah. You're the show, and then those are your friends.
Yeah, well,
That's how-
well, you know, I used to open when I was the opening act, and they used to get mad at me all the time. Is that I'd always wear a baseball cap on stage, and I go through this, you know, all the announcements at the very beginning of the show, and just be real lighthearted and go, okay, I got to say, and I go, are you ready for your first act? And they'd applaud, thinking that somebody else was coming up on stage, and I would go through my own credits. I go, please, because they didn't hear my name over
Yeah.
there. And I go, please welcome Al Ernst. And I just turn around, take my hat off, put it back, come back to the stage.
Yeah.
And I go, it's still me.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Budget cuts.
Budget cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the people, but the people they make a transition from you being just the perfunctory guy
Right.
telling you where the bathrooms are
Right, exactly.
to the comic. And that is the better sense of what we all should be doing up there. You know, make sure that you go up there and say, hey man, I've got something to offer. I'm not just this
Fucking
guy
yeah.
going to tell you to be quiet and where the bathrooms are.
Right, exactly.
And then here's a few little tidbits, you know. So well, I'm really appreciative. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I love. We started doing this like a couple months back. It's 6 months now, I think, and it started off shaky. Like people didn't know exactly what was happening. We were all just staring at each other, and like, all right, you talk.
Right, now you go.
Yeah, now it's kind of transformed into its own thing.
Well, tell. I want to hear from both of you guys. Tell me your stories. What made you decide to take the class or do the comedy or do whatever?
Well, I'll go first. I'm actually originally from Missouri, and I got started in stand-up through an open mic in college, and I was kind of tricked into it because they said they had free food there, so I went up there.
When you're a college student,
yeah, you're like,
food, yeah.
well, I felt bad originally because I was just gonna go watch, but then I ate like a whole tray of cookies and like half a canter of hot chocolate, and I was like, I better do something. So I did a joke, people laughed at it, and I got, like I said, you get bit by the bug, and ever since then I've been chasing that dragon.
Now, so you didn't take any classes or anything?
Actually, back home from Missouri, I worked for a comedy theater called the Skinny Improv. It doesn't exist anymore, but there is where I started doing stand-up and taking improv classes, and what I call the George Winded approach, where I cleaned bathrooms for the free classes. I told people where the bathrooms. I hosted. I did the front box. I did everything that nobody else wanted to do, and also got paid $8.20.
Yeah, well, that's good. So you understand headliner pay when you're a non-special event.
Yeah,
Lessons.
Yeah, especially at lessons. I'd say that in front of them, man. I'm bringing in pay. No, Al, you're still a nobody. Okay, you just get standard pay. Okay, all right, never mind. You know, but the great news is I can get in my little car and I'm in my own bed in less than 15 minutes.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So that's that. When you've been on the road and on cruise ships for 30 years, let me promise you, there's enough 2:45 a.m. wake up calls to make a 6 a.m. flight out of Tampa to go to Belize to go pick up a cruise ship. You know, I mean, I'm over it. So now, what about you? What made you decide to do it?
My wife and I, Barbara, are regulars here. We're here at least once a week, once every 10 days. We just enjoy that date night out. We laugh. You know, we come in with the right attitude. Well, whenever they would advertise about the classes, she would say, "Why don't you do it? Why don't you do it?" Well, I thought I'd play a practical joke on her, so I did. And I took the class, and she didn't know I did. And so I came up here. Les kept it under the hat. She had no idea that I was coming out for the graduating class to do the bit, and when I did, we had I don't know about 40 people here. So kind of what happened with you, all of our friends, and so she was surprised I came out, and I'll be honest with you, it went really well, and I liked it. And
you get hooked.
You get hooked.
You get hooked real bad.
So she damn near had a heart attack, but
exactly.
Anyhow, so I got hooked on it. And
very cool.
We're going.
And so are you permanent in Sarasota, or are you back and forth?
Back and forth.
You're back and forth. Okay, well, you know my opening line there about them building the wall in Florida, so you might want to be on this side of it before we start stopping people from there.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Mike? I mean, I've only just seen you work here.
I actually always wanted to do comedy. Ever since I watched Sinbad. I went and saw him, I think I was like 11, which was weird to watch a stand-up comedy as 11. I went to go see him in Tampa with my dad, and I was just amazed that this one person was up on stage just making everybody laugh. I didn't know what it was. It didn't make sense to me. Then I watched the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. That hooked me. And then cut to here, I literally applied, and I was like, I'll clean the bathrooms. I just want to work here. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I just want to do stand-up comedy. So everybody thought that I got talked into it, but my plan was always to do stand-up here.
Really?
A comedian once said, he was like, if you're interested in comedy, like why wouldn't you try to work at a comedy club? Like find your local comedy. Yeah. Everybody thinks you got to move out to LA or New York right away to start comedy. And then I was like, I watched a lot of online like podcasts and stuff like that, and they were like, start where you are. You should start where you are. There's no point in dying out in LA. You know what I mean?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, just start where you are. And so I was like, I started here.
I will say this about starting where you are. That's a really good thing. Like here, like Sarasota, because this club is established and everything, a lot of great stuff. Like But back home, like from the Midwest, I kind of had to reach a glass ceiling.
Yeah,
So
if
it's
you
just-
live in Duluth, Kentucky, or
Yeah.
some shit, or wherever the
But-
fuck that place is. Yeah.
But you know what though, I'll challenge you a little bit on that because the business has changed so
Yeah.
much that I mean, and this is nothing. Les is a great businessman. There's nothing. He brings in special events, but most of the places, even like I got, make great money when I work on cruise ships, but I'm a slot filler on a cruise ship. They are not. The cruise line is not there to make Al Ernst the name. They want the comedy club to be the name. All right. You in this environment, in the old days, that used to be okay because what would happen is somebody would find you, they would be your quote manager, start you out, and kind of graduate you into being a special event. And now that isn't the case anymore.
Bo
You have to
Burnham.
force people to buy tickets to see you.
Yeah.
All right, and and I tell that to every young comic because my biggest mistake is getting older with it. Is that I've made a pretty good living at it, but I got lucky because I did, and had I worked, we all think if we would have done it a little differently. Had I worked much more to get known as Al Ernst, and somebody sees my name and buy. You want them to pay that $20 to see Al Ernst, not just he's a great comic at Mccurdy's.
Right, yeah.
And you guys, especially out there now, have to develop your name rec. And then you know what? Go rent, and I tell them, go rent a conference room at the frickin' Marriott, because it's not that expensive. It's $100. Bring in a sound system and have
A show. That people that you promote yourself.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But here's the beauty of that. You charge $20 a ticket. Guess what you make?
Yeah.
$20.
Yeah.
Every dime of it.
Yeah.
And I kid, and again, I kid less because I would never not work for them, and I appreciate everything I know. But I know for a fact there's going to be close to 250 people that are not freebies that are paying full ride to get into this room for this week to see Al Ernst.
Nice.
Specifically, all right? And I'm not making dime one more than the average headliner that comes into this, so, which is fine. I mean, I'm a big boy, right? I agreed to that. I'm not coming back at the back end going, but what I am saying is I could probably get that same 250 people, honestly, to go to you name the place and come see my show, and I could charge them $20 a pop, and they'd pay it. And guess what? Al walks home with a whole lot more money than he does working a week here. But that's not. I will do that in other markets. It's like I could care less if I get the headliner spot at the Improv in Tampa. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
All right, but if I can run a comedy show in somewhere in Tampa at you name the place, and I can get even 100 people in at $10, I'm making $1,000.
Right.
And that's a hell of a lot more than I'd make being the headliner on a one-nighter at the Improv in Ybor City. So the challenge for you guys is to go make your names.
Yeah.
Make your money on your names.
Yeah, you have to be a household name
Right.
to make it.
And not even a household name. You can just have a niche group
Right,
of
yeah,
people
yeah.
nowadays.
A following.
A following. And it bugged me the most. I learned that lesson hard because the Punchline in Atlanta called me up, said, do you want to be a feature act? Do you want to make $2,500 to be a feature act? And I'm like, of course. And I said, what that's for? Well, this YouTube guy we're bringing him in for 2 shows, and he sold out 900 tickets.
Yeah.
And he has 20 minutes. We need you to carry the show.
Yeah, basically. Be the real talent.
But to be the real talent.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm gonna take a $2,500 one-nighter in a heartbeat. But you know what? I did the math, and the YouTube guy with the fucking 20 minutes is
Yeah.
walking out with $25,000.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And that's how.
Wow.
That's the weird thing is like what I've learned just from taking your advice because you told me this before actually.
Yeah.
And it's just like those. It's a small thing like when somebody goes, "Hey, you great show," and they're walking by you. It feels when you first start doing it, it feels so weird. But you literally go, "Hey, follow me on Instagram.
Right.
Follow me on Facebook." And you're selling yourself, and you're just getting these little ones every once in a while, and it adds up.
Yeah, you
does.
always carry something with you.
Business cards,
And you're in
something.
marketing, you understand that.
Yeah.
But something that, and don't just say it, hand it to them.
Yeah.
You know, and get them to do that because, especially in Sarasota, it's like you said, you come from Michigan.
Right.
All right.
Right.
I just played. You know, you realize I love Mark Ridley's in Michigan. I just did a run in Detroit. You know what I did a run of? Churches.
Yeah.
I did 6 nights of churches
That's awesome.
in the Detroit. That's why I stayed out by the airport and then I went all the way
It's
to
right
Norfolk.
in, right in, yeah.
And I made more in 6 nights in Detroit than I've done in the history of working comedy clubs in Detroit over 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again that I mean I love Ridley's.
Yeah.
Love the guy. I mean they've been great.
I heard he's a great person. I never met him, but I heard he's awesome.
But
awesome man.
so that doesn't take away from the fact that these people are really great business people.
Yeah.
But
Well, they got to be to keep it going.
that's right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, so well. Listen, it's time for you to go be funny, Mike.
I think so.
No, this is Les's room. I forgot. He's got about another 30 minutes on stage.
I can go and like.
Yeah, you could probably go to the bathroom, take a smoke break. Well, come
So
on.
have you played or have you worked here yet?
I haven't done the main room, but I've done mostly the open mics here on Wednesday. Yeah, and I've around town I've been featured on a few showcases. So,
Yeah.
but that's mostly. But like that's the thing. Like I don't want to say I got a little bit jaded because when I got into it, like I wanted stage time, performance, and everything. But I was kind of pushed into more the business aspect. But that like later now in life is like okay, I have that business experience. So, I won't necessarily like make the same mistakes again, right? So that's one thing, but also now it's like, actually hanging out with more comedians because when I first moved here, I didn't know anybody. I was just going to the regular open mics and then one guy would be like, oh, I do stand-up comedy as well, but it's more of him I just go to the open mic, I'm not really pursuing anything like that, but through, coming here, meeting other people, I've actually, getting in writing circles and stuff like that. Like, I mean, it helps a lot having that kind of, I guess, a circle of people who are like focused on the same kind of thing that you want to achieve. No matter if it's like, hey, yeah, I want to be in the main room here at Mccurdys, or it's like I want to be like selling out a stadium. The idea is like you want to make it like this. This is it.
This
like,
is it.
Yeah.
It's kind of your home field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and you treat your home field way different, obviously,
Yeah.
than you do other places. But I also, like I said, I also tell people, Les is they're really cool. Some clubs are real dicks about working locally and other venues. They'll give you the old you can't work anywhere else if you work here and all this and that the guy in Jacksonville is like that. And I'm like going,
Yeah.
dude, these people are opening acts. What are you're telling me that you're limiting their reps to me?
Yeah.
That's a workout. That's like saying the only place you can ever work out is LA Fitness.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Even
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
hilarious.
it's ridiculous. All right. Now, if I'm a name, gonna sell you, a huge week of tickets with a big name, I get it. You don't want somebody working your competition. But schmoes like us, listen, the best thing I can do is go kill at another place and go, you know what? I'm going to be at the Comedy Zone in Jacksonville in a week and a half because those people will then come to your show there.
Yeah.
And Les is cool about it. I mean, they get it in this town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like limiting, like you can only do it here and that really stifles the creative and the people who want to like pursue it further. It's like, well, why even do it? Continue doing this if this is my only quote unquote opportunity, And then I feel like that's what may have happened to me back home because like it was the one only comedy club in town, and then I felt like, oh, I'm getting into the big parts, more stage time and stuff like that. But then at the same time, I was like, yeah, don't do that. Don't be doing this. And I was like, what do you mean, man? Like, I'm hosting a trivia night. I was like, no, don't do that. Turns out he was trying to do it too. So it's just one of those, like, the guy who mentored me was also trying to backstab me. So
yeah, and that's the other thing is, you'll find that the first thing people say, well, you did that. Who books that? Who's there? You know, and you're always in that constant. And that's why I tell people all the time, you know what? Go, just go do your own thing.
Yeah.
If you want to do improv, don't wait for Florida Studio Theater to call you up.
No.
Just start an improv group and just start doing it.
Right.
You'll get your time now.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, Al, earlier, the biggest challenge I have had, because all of my shows have been in the Detroit metropolitan area, they're the same people that are there, and sometimes I just feel like I need something to bring additionally to the table. And I got to tell you, it bothers me that I'm using the same material. However, I guess you just get through it.
Well, no, I think
you get over that.
You know what I would set a goal for then, instead of saying it like that, is every show you do 2 new bits. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, I'm got to do 20 new minutes, I got to do 2 new lines. And then the next show, 2 more new lines. Okay. And then that way, now you're weeding out stuff that you were doing that was kind of filler. Yeah. You're bringing in
also,
new stuff.
Know the difference between an open mic and a showcase.
Yeah.
Right.
An open mic's not a show. Don't. There's so many times where I watch a comic and he's trying to kill at the open mic, and you're like, why? This is a home court basketball game.
That's right.
This is
That's
not
right.
the NBA Finals. All you're doing
right.
is just you're just stagnating, because you might be killing, but you're doing the same bits over and over again. You're not growing. You're not doing anything. You're just trying to kill at an open mic. It's like trying to dunk on 5th graders. It's like the dumbest thing ever. So you should be constantly challenging yourself. Go out there, try out some new stuff. It's meant for that.
Yeah.
Now a showcase is different. You're getting paid usually, so you should probably be more professional.
Right.
Not
Or
just
you're
throwing.
trying to get a way to get paid.
Right.
But if you're doing a showcase, or if you're doing an open mic in that Detroit area, I tell you what.
Yeah.
And they say you got 6 minutes. I would say it this way: I only got 3 minutes. I only need 3 minutes. I'm just gonna do my new stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't worry about. Most every comic, when you hear 6 minutes, they always then feel they gotta stay
On for 6.
Yeah. And I say no. You if you're like you're like it on your place over here, man. Look, the only thing I'm gonna do if I was gonna come and I come do your open mic, but I'm gonna go do.
You've done it
3
before,
Yeah, I've done it before. But I'm doing 3 minutes of new stuff that I'm working on.
It's selfish to kill at an open mic.
It's stupid. Well, it's stupid.
It's stupid. It
Yeah,
doesn't make any
it
sense.
really is.
Now, it's like I've heard this term before. You can't bomb or crush at an open mic. Same way you can't win or lose at practice.
Yeah.
There's this thing. It's a scrimmage. Like, is that, you know what I mean? Like, remember football practice?
yeah.
Did you ever do a scrimmage and the guy like, you fucking lost? Like, bitch, we were practicing. Relax. You know what I mean? Like, nobody lost. You just did better. You did better than I did. You know?
No, but that's like we said earlier, like Mike doing reps and stuff like that. Like going to open mics for me, it's like going to the gym, because like
it is.
Because I know it's not my best stuff, but I know like I can still flex a little bit, but it's not necessarily meaning like I'm here to like be the best. It's just I'm here working on my horrible stuff to get more presentable, I guess.
Yeah. Now, if Les is giving you a guest set in the main for a show like this, you're bringing your top 10 to the table, or your top 6 or whatever it is. That's what you're doing there. I know. Well, it's Les. I can do my best Les Mccurdy, but I'm gonna go out there and do about 10 or 15, and then I'll bring you out, and then 45 minutes later.
Problem is, I'm gonna go out there and other people want to get talked to, and I'm gonna be like, hey, like it's my time now. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've been doing a lot recently. This came from another comedian. I don't know, Jake Baker. He's out from California. He's a hometown boy from Springfield, and we put on a show for him one time, and he kind of gave me like the best advice ever. Is like, all that stuff you wrote maybe like 10 years ago that you kind of have in a folder and you forgot about. Revisit that, because
Right.
now you have all the
That's
stuff
great
you've
advice.
got. It's like, yeah, go back to it and then take what you've learned now, apply it with a different perspective. And I have brushed off some of that old stuff from back in college. I mean, and I've had to revamp it for modern times, and it's starting to be good. And it isn't just me saying stupid things for a laugh. It's more poignant, getting a point across and stuff like that.
Well, here's the question I have for you guys. Do you record every set?
I used to, not anymore. I used to record a lot of sets.
Here's the point of that. It's not that you want, but it's talking about dusting off old material. If you record the better part of your sets, and I hate to say it, you just kind of log them somewhere on a computer. You then occasionally what I'll do is get on one of my old computers and I'll listen to a set, just a random set from June of 2005, wherever I was, and I totally forgot. That's a great bit.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that bit.
Now,
And
do
then,
you put your stuff on YouTube?
not like I should. And see, that's where I say I'm the old man on this. I have been so resistant to all of the social media stuff, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's the old school idea of like, if you did Carson getting on, and I know you guys are too young for that, but
I got it.
Johnny Carson was the thing, right?
Yeah.
You get on Johnny Carson, but the bit you did on Johnny Carson might have get these humongous laughs, but you could never do it again.
Yeah.
It was burned material, and to me, putting something on YouTube, the thing I hate the most is to have. I'm on a lot on Sirius XM. I'm on 2 different stations, a ton on Sirius XM, and I'll have people come up to me all the time and go, yeah, you did that airplane bit like you did. Yeah, that's just like and you burned. To me, you burned that material.
So you're saying don't put it on YouTube?
Put promotional things on YouTube, or if you're going to try to make money off of YouTube, write a separate piece to that. But all right, man, go hit it, baby.
Good luck, Mike.
Look, Mike.
But I will say this for YouTube: do the things that you think you're marketing. Do the things that will sell tickets that bring people in. But there are 20,000 freaking comedians that have pictures of YouTube of a single camera shot of them standing on stage.
Right.
Do something different.
Got
Do
it.
something different, because we have too many comics with too many backdrops.
And I feel you on that, because like I did have a YouTube channel when I first started, and that's how I kind of got those gigs and everything, because it's like, oh, those bits, but then people would be like, hey, you didn't do that bit I saw. I was really hoping to my friends to see it, and then you'd be like, well, you could just show them YouTube, but then at the same time, we'll still kind of, I guess, humble, because like I wanted them to see you do it personally. I don't want to just show them a video of you.
Oh yeah, I mean, that I do a whole airplane bit that I may or may not do tonight, but you're right. I've had people come off and go, you didn't do your whole TSA bit, and I brought these people to come see your TSA bit, and now you're like, you're in that realm. And in the same sense, I've had people come and go, well, that's that same TSA bit I heard on, So what do you do?
Yeah.
Where do you go with it?
There's a few, there's a few comics that have a, they're not celebrities, but they have a following. You do, and guys that just love them, and they really do get disappointed when you don't do those old bits, and they have to they really struggle with putting new material into their set. And I know a lot of them have gotten up there and just done a disclaimer and gone, look, I can't. I've got to do some new stuff, y'all. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to pepper in some of the old favorites with some new stuff and embrace the new stuff, And but yeah, it's hard
I mean,
when you have people that love it.
And honestly, I can't get away. That stuff I did about my mom last night, I can't do a show.
That was awesome, by the way.
Oh,
I was laughing so hard at that.
But I can't unless, I mean, he gets it, talks about it a few minutes ago. I can't not do that part of the set in a show, because I will inevitably get too many people going, we really wanted to hear that stuff about your mama.
Oh, sure.
And you didn't do anything about your mama.
It's like AC/DC showing up not doing Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, we got some new songs, man. I can't do them all.
Buffett not doing Margaritaville.
Not doing Margaritaville.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But guess what I did get? I got a letter, and this is totally legit. I got a letter from the National Obesity Acceptance Organization.
Oh, you told me about that.
That they claim that because of myself, because the only thing I talk about being obese is me. I don't go in the audience.
Right.
So, you fat bastard.
Yeah.
And you don't pick out any other famous person
Nothing.
and compare them? No.
They say that my material helps to continue to what is it? The
Fat
stigma-
shame. It's fat shaming.
Fat
Yeah.
shame people, and they don't get, obese people then don't get opportunities for advancement in a comedy show.
Yeah.
This is a comedy show, and I got a true to life. They are a political organization that is trying to change laws to make obesity a disability.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, all right, if a person who is in a wheelchair could go on a keto diet and start walking again, that'd be a great thing for them.
Yeah.
I just go on a diet,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a fat kid my entire life. I mean, that's why my nickname was Groceries. I'm used to it, but I mean, I couldn't believe, and I responded. I said, it's a comedy show. I don't pick on anybody else, and I'm doing the material. I'm talking about, but I am totally working on that bit because it's true.
Wow.
That is a true story that they came after me for fat shaming myself.
Right. That would be like someone of a race doing things about their race and getting a call from the NAACP or somebody that
Right.
saying you are hurting
Your own
all the
people.
people of that race by doing shit about the race that you are.
But you are.
Yeah.
How do
No.
you get,
I've actually I've experienced that. Like it's very weird because like I've done bits and stuff like that, and I've had like my friends who because you can't tell on the podcast, but the name Angel Salvador, obviously.
Greek, right?
I wish it'd be a lot easier to explain on when I go to the airport.
No, but so you've gotten
I've
something from other Latin
I've gotten
people?
friends and be like, hey, that was kind of funny, man, but do you think that was really necessary? Like, it's like, well, it's coming from experience. It's
Yes.
like I'm making light of a horrible situation because it's absurd, and
Yes.
then that's where the humor is. It lies in the absurdity of like this.
Sure.
Yeah.
And exactly. Well, it's like that thing of it seems like what most people have a problem with is stereotypes.
Yeah.
And I go, but look, you know how stereotypes became stereotypes? Because there's a lot of people in that category that do that or act that way, or there's a reason for it. People don't make up a stereotype for the most part. I won't say it totally doesn't happen, but for the most part, it is something that is. And then you can take that stereotype and you can work it in a lot of different ways.
But then there's also the thing where like people embrace the stereotype, like I don't know. I don't know what a good example would be without getting in trouble. Like, I'll just use my like brown guy, like, hardworking, good work ethic, manual labor. Like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I did manual labor most of my life growing up. My dad actually landscaping, mom housekeeping. Like, it's not because like that's what we can only do, but it's just because that's what just happened, and there's so many of us.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where it's just like I understand, and then at the very beginning I was embracing those stereotypes, getting those laughs and everything.
Right.
But then it's when my friends were like, "Dude, you're just cheaping it." Like, well, what do you mean I'm being cheap? Like this is what I want. It's like, I want the laughter.
Oh, of course. You take a stereotype like that, and then you go, whatever it is, you go, well, I guess I should have put my I guess I should have let you know it's doctor, you know, and L, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, yeah. You know what, and we've said this many times on the podcast, and I teach it too. If the crowd can tell if something is being presented with what I like to call a mean spirit, if it's being delivered in a way that is really mean and hateful, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? It's usually pretty obvious. And most audiences, and I mean, I can go back as long as I've been in the business, 40 years, when a lot of all kinds of different stereotypes, racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes, homophobic shit and all this stuff was just real common in that day and time. But still, rarely was it delivered in a way that you thought that comedian
was being hateful.
Yeah. You know, they were taking a gross stereotype and trying to get a laugh out of it. And yes, it was inappropriate, and especially to this day and time. Well, it was inappropriate then, too. It was just more acceptable then. But still, and audiences, I mean, an audience can read that pretty fast. Yeah. And you'll lose them. I mean, I think in most cases,
right,
I mean, you're going to lose them. That's not.
I do remember this one time I was doing a show in Arkansas for a resort, and there was nobody at the show, but we still got paid, which was great. But when I went up, it was a room full of one, and it was just the guy who had booked us, and I was doing my bits, and then nobody was laughing, but then I just did one bit about, you don't have to worry about me. I know I look like a terrorist, but I don't carry a bomb. It's just a knife. He laughed for 5 minutes, and I was just like, all right, I played to the stereotype. I understood my one guy audience. And, you know, I felt pretty good about it because it's like, it's the one guy. I made him laugh. I did my job. So
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, when the one thing audience members don't know that, like, Mark, you're the closest to it because you just took a class, you know, they don't get what it's like to be standing there in front of an audience with an expectation that you are going to not just be humorous. You know what I mean? They're not just be humorous. You've got to make the entire room laugh out loud, whatever it is, over and over and over again. And when we're standing there, I mean, and especially until you get to the point that you've really been doing it for a long time and have a lot of experience and this, that, and the other, I mean, it is so nerve-wracking to be standing there because, you know, you at this point, you only have so much ammunition.
Yeah.
You only have so much to bring to it. And I've seen comics, many newer comics, do bits that they're not proud of that bit, but they were under the gun and they were just trying to make something happen, you know, something funny. They were just going, you know, for something, you know, and you know, and then audience members will be all pissed off. I've had that happen when it was an open mic, you know, and then somebody come and they're just livid pissed off. Oh, I can't believe you gonna let that sumbitch ever in this building? And I go, he's an open micer, motherfucker. Yeah. I mean, he's like, why don't you give it a shot? See how it comes out. Why don't you come over here with your prolific fucking shit? Yeah. Yes, that was inappropriate. Yes, but how do you think they learn? I mean, you have to have an opportunity to fuck up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before
Makes you
Mike just got booed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I don't know what he said.
Oh yeah, he's definitely hitting some notes that are not are not striking check marks out there.
I was gonna say
that quadriplegic one yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a tough.
What was that?
You did a quadriplegic.
Oh, got you.
That went south like.
Oh, this head transplant? Yeah.
I've heard him do that.
Yeah.
But you know, once again, that's where you go. What, Mike's a year and a half, 2 years into this, you know, and he's like, you know, he can host, and as far as I'm concerned, he can walk up there and do 10 minutes and feel he's got 10, confidence. 15 minutes that's pretty confident. You know what I mean? That's. But then when you start going outside of that, it gets iffy.
Yeah.
You know, because you're just developing stuff. You know,
yeah.
and you're also learning where do I put that in there, and when I do, and it doesn't work, and then maybe I do a couple in a row that don't work. Now I've had a minute of nothing, of silence.
Ooh.
So then you're going, you don't have enough experience to go, now I go to this. You know, lots of times you haven't sat down and pre-thought, oh, okay, and really thought through
if this
your
goes south.
yeah, really thought through your set and going,
Yeah,
okay, I'm
save
going to.
or something. Yep.
Whereas-
Something to save you.
Whereas me and
Okay.
Al know that going, okay, I'm going to try a new bit, or I'm going to try a couple of new things, and they're a little iffy, right? Well, you know they're iffy, so you know you're going to wedge that in.
Right.
You're gonna win them over. You're gonna get them laughing their ass off, really liking you know, before you go there.
Right.
And then if they don't work, you make light of it, and you go immediately into something that you know that they're all going to like is going to win them back over again, you know, because there is that fine line with comics where you go, I know you're working on material, but you're also working, this ain't open mic. This is a paid professional performance.
Yeah, we talked about that while you were out doing the opening.
The audience,
difference, that's right.
Yeah, the audience, your job is now
getting paid for it.
based on making that audience happy, you know. And there's a lot of comics that would take issue with that. Go, no, you know, not at all. And I go, well,
No, the job is those people go out happy because you want them coming back.
that's right.
And
That's right.
And that's what business.
And you're building your brand, Al.
Yeah,
That's right.
You're building your brand.
You're building your brand, but you know, back when Les and I, and probably Les started a little earlier than I did, but he can tell you, I started in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the big graduation to being an opener of comic was to go to Houston, and they had a group of comics that was kind of
Yeah.
led by Sam Kinnison.
Oh, wow.
That was called the Outlaws of Comedy.
Brett Butler,
Right.
Ron
And
Schock, Bill Hicks,
Hicks,
Oh,
Bill Hicks.
wow.
And well, there's a great story.
Jimmy Pineapple, Carl Falkenberry.
My first ever showcase at the Comedy Workshop in Houston, I followed Bill Hicks.
Oh, there you
I
go.
went on. We got a guy crying out. But there,
And Stephen J. Moore.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing about it was, those guys had an attitude of, they were competitive of how many patrons they could walk out of the club. And it was an entirely different.
They're playing
edgy-
to the comics.
That's right. They were playing to the other
Playing to the
comics.
comics, and they were really caught up in super original, cutting edge, you know, not just playing to the easy stuff that you knew would work, but trying to develop. And the thing about it is, that's how a celebrity develops. Celebrities need to have a point of view that is consistent. You can't come off of it, so that you're brandable. That everybody knows that's always you. So when you're that, you will get some shows where you're just going to tank.
Oh.
And because you're not going to switch, Bill Hicks he ain't winning the audience over. Well, he ain't going to switch over to just telling some fucking jokes and da-da-da-da-da-da. Neither is Doug Stanhope. And neither is Brian Regan.
No.
You know what I mean? They're going to stay with who they are, you know. And so, you know, that we said there's celebrity types. There's that type that it has a well-defined who they are on stage. And then there's comics that are crowd pleasers. I'm a crowd pleaser. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll adjust.
Yeah.
I'll
Me too.
adjust to the audience. If they want dirty, go dirty. They want clean, they go clean. You know, you'll adjust to the audience. Comics like that can work a lot, but it's hard for a comic like that to become a celebrity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But the problem is that there's only so many slots to be a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, there's only some. I mean, I'm sorry, there is a finite number of celebrities, and
But that's opening up a little bit with the internet.
That's true.
You're just not as big.
right. You get a
You're a,
niche.
you're a small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
playing
you're
field's
smaller
bigger,
player.
or I
Yeah.
guess even for everyone.
But
so
you know, you're
with the internet and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
but you have to. It's like you say, you got to kind of play to your brand. And when I realized, I didn't have that specialty thing, I wanted to do this for a living. It changed the way I did my comedy, and so I'm that work a day. I mean, would I love to have would I love to be able to come sell this place out on paid seats? Hell yeah, I'd love to. But I realized, I'm kind of the guy I'm your lunch pail guy. They can call me up. They know they're going to get a good show. Sometimes they're going to get a great show, but rarely is anybody going to walk out.
But in our day and time,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to New York or L.A. and live there and beat that and do that, because that's what you had to do.
Sebastian grew quick, didn't he, Les?
What's that?
Sebastian, he grew quick, didn't he?
He was around for a long time.
Was he?
Once he started getting popular and getting on television and stuff. But obviously the thing was, whenever that started happening, he was ready. He was really good. I don't imagine he was doing it for 2 years and all of a sudden had a Showtime fucking special. I might be wrong, but I've never seen that happen.
No.
Ever. About the quickest I've ever seen anybody, something like that happens, they've been doing it 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then it's another 3 or 4, 5 years of being on television, then that they start to get massively famous. So still, it's not like.
But even look at Rogan.
Overnight.
Rogan isn't popular because of his comedy.
No,
Rogan is popular
UFC
because
announcer, podcast.
and podcast.
Fear Factor.
Yeah. You even forget about Fear Factor, because that was back
big.
in the early. But that was in the early 2000s.
But that helped him draw. And then he had a good enough show that it paid off for his people. They loved it, know. But it was being on TV all the time.
But he is the guy. But he has a very finite audience, because even though he has the largest podcast ever, that still is what 0.0001% of the audience.
Yeah.
Hey.
But it pays a lot of bills.
Yes.
Yeah. He's making. I'm listening.
I love Google searching on a conversation like this and just going Joe Rogan net worth. Now I know that number's not always exact, but it's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
it's probably more than we think it is.
I agree. But he's got it.
He's built the brand, as we say in our business. He has built the brand.
He's got that clout.
He does.
Now, how has your business changed in marketing with the social media and building the brands and all that kind of stuff?
I got to tell you, I have 4 children from the age of 30 through 40, and the 4 of them now are involved in the business, and that's the marketing that they do. We do more national work than we ever have. And it's all about the social media and the websites, and they just do an incredible job. My daughter Angela does our marketing program with social media.
So you guys have
And the websites.
an actual social media plan, like a rollout plan.
Oh yeah, for 3 years.
Okay, so you tell me, as a guy who here's what I've been. I've been really active, and then I've been disappeared. Like you can find me on Facebook, but I think my last recorded posting was 2011. All right, give me the 3 social media places that, if you are a comedian, where do you need to be?
If you were going to hire me today,
and I am,
the
because
very first thing
remember
we need
who
to do,
I work for is Les Mccurdy.
Okay.
So here's your dollar. All right.
Joe Rogan's worth $25 million.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Is he really?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
25 million.
And
Wow.
and I bet you 20 of that 25 million is off of the podcast.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure he was really before. Oh, I gotta get.
You're up.
I gotta get.
I'm going to see you tomorrow.
All
I'm
right,
telling you right
thanks.
now. I'm
But
going to
and
be
you-
here tomorrow. I'm
and
going
you're
to see you.
leaving me in drama.
Leaving you hanging. Here's the business secrets for social media. Too bad, you gotta go soon.
thanks again for tuning into another episode of the Conversation Podcast here at Mccurdy's Comedy Theater. Please go to our website, mccurdyscomedy.com. We've got a lot of special events, a lot of great comics coming up. Do not sleep on these guys. Orny Adams is actually coming in next week. Do not sleep on him. He is hilarious. And if you liked Al Ernst, please look him up. It's ALERNST. He's all over Facebook, all over the Google, and the interweb, if you will. And check me out. I actually have an Instagram. It's the Fire Squatch. That's TheFireSquatch. Follow me on Instagram. I need the followers, definitely. And check out On Hill. He's a local open micer. He's always hitting the open mics here at Mccurdys and all around town. Very funny guy. All that good stuff. And can't wait to see you next time, guys. Love you. Mwah.